Good morning. I'm Marty Wilfer with Riesterer Schnell. I'm here today with Nick Fleece from John Deere. So today's episode of Leap Forward with Riesterer Schnell, we're going to talk about round balers. And Nick, what is your role at John Deere?
Yeah, I work in our dairy and livestock production system, particularly in our baling and mowing group. So glad to be with you guys today to talk all things balers.
Yeah, glad to have you. I know you and I were chatting a little bit and kind of the one series, this is our second year on them, but talking about all the things you might not see just from looking at the outside of them, but things that are built in when we went from say a 460M pre-cutter and now to get a pre-cutter pickup, we're into this 461R. But would you mind kind of just expounding on that a little bit?
Yeah, so maybe one things that have changed, again, the model numbers stayed relatively consistent, right? You're 4 foot wide, 6 foot tall. We're on a 1 series, and then your R is tied to the feed system. So E is our mega wide classic, M is our mega wide feed system, and R then is our high capacity feed system. And then if you have any what we'd consider crop engaging options, right, your pre-cutter down here, or you might also have a silage special. So kind of that, I'll say, sub-identifier, if you will, of what the model consists of. So on our R series feed system, this is a pre-cutter unit. So it has 14 knives. It's got the heavier roller baffle. It's got the heavier components in the feed system. It comes with that additional warranty terms. So some differentiation compared to an M spec.
Okay. And I know we talked about a little bit of the technology being built into this too. So, I mean, I think right out of the factory, we're getting it's in the base actually to get gates automation.
Yeah. Yep. So we've had tractor baler automation since roughly 2013 or so, and that was on your 9 series premiums. And then, of course, being able to leverage that technology sometimes is at the mercy, if you will, of what tractor's what's pulling it, right? So now we've got baler automation is on, like you said, base equipment on all balers less the E-spec machine, and that way we also then have a optional gate automation valve block that we can use on other tractors that don't have electronic selective control valves.
And for the people that just maybe aren't familiar with baler automation, you want to kind of just run through exactly what happens with
Yeah, baler automation, great question. It's twofold, right? We'll start at the beginning of your baling process. So baler automation is comprised of speed automation and gate automation. Speed automation is such that when it gets to that desired diameter of bale, the tractor will stop automatically, right? So that way, I know I've been in situations where the next couple of feet can be a significant amount of crop that you're taking in. So speed automation will stop the baler automatically when it gets that desired size. That does require an IVT transmission, so a smarter transmission to be able to that smarter function, if you will. Gate automation then is where it will automatically open that gate when the wrapping cycle is complete. So I know sometimes it's a simple function to open the gate, but being able to do it right when it's most able to do it can save seconds as if you go over a course of a day when you're making hundreds of bales. So that's speed automation, gate automation. And like I mentioned before, speed automation requires an IVT. Gate automation, if you have the tractors, requires electronic SCVs. However, we do have a kit for those mechanical SCV tractors.
So I'm kind of a hands-on guy. So if I'm driving, if I had an IVT tractor hooked onto this and I'm driving along, making my bale, and it beeps, it'll actually slow me down. I hit the brakes?
Nope, it'll stop for you, right? So it'll take a little...
It'll stop, and it'll actually trigger. It'll wrap the bale.
Yep.
And it's going to trigger itself then, and the baler is going to tell the tractor to actuate the SCV. It's going to open the gate up, drop the bale, kick it back.
Yep.
And it's going to shut the gate again.
Yep.
And to get going,
then it's just whether it's a cycle of the left-hand reverser if you have a tractor equipped with that, or touching the foot throttle, right? Okay. So an operator interaction, if you will, and gets it going.
A very minor operator interaction, and I'm baling again.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's helps create a little bit productivity improvements, right? When you're baling again, hundreds of bales throughout the day, and also if you have differing operator experiences, right? If you have some customers or operators that aren't as new to baling, don't have the seat time, if you will, these are functions that can help make them just as productive as maybe the experienced operator can, right? Because we know labor is a challenge in all areas of agriculture, right? So working with some of those challenges, you've got solutions that help kind of overcome those issues.
Yeah. And speaking of automation, it's actually, seems like a weird coincidence to me. I had just a year or so ago, I had somebody asking me, like, God, I can't believe nobody's figured out, like, he was struggling with making really nice square round bales, and I can't believe nobody's got it figured out how to automatically fill their own baler, right?
Yep.
And all
Yeah.
we've got weave automation.
Exactly.
Coming, right?
So we released weave automation, which is kind of another function, if you will, within the baler automation kind of journey. And weave automation was released this last February, right? And it does just that. It will automatically weave side to side to pack those side sheets to develop a very consistent square shoulder bale, right? Because that's where a lot of that experience comes from. So you're not making barrel shaped or sway back bales, right? Getting the consistency of output out the back comes with some of that weaving throughout.
And just kind of the nuts and bolts of it. I'm a kind of a mechanical guy, but
Yep.
we're not doing it. I know, like, I think about other guidance options we have with John Deere, and we're guiding a lot of corn planters and stuff by putting a receiver on them, and we're actually steering the tractor off the line to get the planter on. And this looks like we're actually putting a cylinder on the hitch on the baler, so it's a lot faster reacting, right? It's not where the tractor can stay right over the windrow, but we're actually steering the baler right with the hitch.
Exactly, right? So if you start from the beginning with the tractor, it requires an auto track ready tractor because it needs to know the wheel angle sensor position, right? Because there's a following mode to weave automation where it can follow the contours to avoid driving over the windrow like you just said. After that, you've got a controller, you've got electronic SCVs, and then it's got, this baler's not equipped with it, but it has them a hitch. And then it leverages then a position sensor on the hitch, and then your rear bale forming position sensors on the back, and it then adjusts much like an experienced operator would do, weaving back and forth to pack those side sheets and then to fill appropriately across the cycle of the bale, right? So that way your output is just as consistent if a well-experienced operator was baling.
Yeah. Is that something that's only going to be available on balers as they're ordered, or is it going to be retrofittable?
Good question. So right now it's a factory option, right? So it'll be equipped on M-spec, both 4x6 and 5x6 balers. So your 461 M's and R's and 561s M's and R's, and that's a factory option right now. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. No, excited to see that. And no, you probably can't tell me no ballpark on.
Yeah, pricing hasn't been released yet. I think pricing will be available in September, right? But because we're not leveraging a lot of the more, I'll say, sophisticated components that we see in other areas of the business, there's no need for a GPS receiver or activations of that sort. So hopefully you'll find the price point worth the value it delivers.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm excited to see that in the field.
Yeah. Well, maybe let's talk about technology. I like jumping talking about balers here, but one thing that this baler has is moisture sensors and a bale scale, right? So if you kind of think back in the late 90s when yield mapping came on combines, right, they were able to start capturing agronomic information. As we've heard from growers in the baling space for several years, that same need has arisen in baling, right? So that was another exciting thing about the 1 Series Round Balers. It's now equipped with a factory installed moisture sensor and scale. And as we've worked with growers, we've kind of came to the word choice is that it's difficult to manage well what you're not measuring. And so now with this machine, we can measure agronomically and operationally what's going on a more detailed level, so growers can make different management decisions on how to be more productive or how to change their input practices or irrigation practices to get more productivity out of the ground or possibly support operational goals and decrease some expenses on the farm. So that's been really exciting. It's new, right? Just like in the late 90s, yield mapping was doing combines. So we're learning alongside dealers like yourself and growers. So really fun stuff there.
Yeah, and obviously we've had moisture sensors around on balers, combines, choppers. I mean, moisture sensors have been around for decades, like you say, but how's this bale scale work?
Yeah, so the bale scale, exactly. So this machine is not equipped with it, but it has scales on the back. So when the bale is done wrapping and the gate opens, the gate will open, say, 30 degrees, and these hay dogs will then suspend the bale and extrapolates then a weight based upon the hydraulic change that it experiences, right? So it's a relatively consistent. It takes a little bit more time, right? Because you're weighing the bales, but it's been a great usable tool. We've got settings in the display where if you want to create yield maps, you need to get every bale weighed, right? Because you want that as accurate as possible, as consistent of information as possible with every bale. However, because it takes a couple more seconds to bale, if you've got to go, right, the rain's coming and you don't want to sacrifice those couple seconds, you can change the frequency with which it weighs the bale.
Okay.
So I know directionally, am I staying consistent with what I want or maybe my customer wants, or you can weigh any time. So there's different settings on how you weigh the bales or the frequency that is.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've yet to see some yield maps through that, and yeah, probably good data all the way from hay to straw to
Exactly.
what we're pulling off.
Yeah.
All this technology we're using, Nick. I mean, I think for years it worked great. It was very popular. We had the Bale Track Pro Monitor.
Yep.
We had our 2 bars that showed us, how our chamber was. I will say I've had a chance to drive some competitive balers, and I felt like it was hard to tell you were at. It didn't react well. That old Bale Track Bro, I felt like I knew exactly where I was at with which side of the baler was full and how my bale was going to look.
Sure.
And now you guys, did we have to change up the display to use all this technology?
Yeah, so in light of the automation stuff we spoke to, there is a new baler interface, right? So it's the G5e display is the base display that is equipped with this baler, right? You can use Gen 4s, you can use G5 pluses and G5 displays. So the entire John Deere John Deere displays can work with this machine. So we tried to leverage again. I think the Bale Track Plus has been around, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's around 1996. So we've had a tremendous run with it and a lot of use out of it. There's a lot of familiarity with that machine. So we tried to really capitalize on the familiarity of the baler monitor, but also looking at how we can leverage the Gen 4 experience, right? So from customer feedback and reviews as we launched this thing, it was kind of the best of both worlds, right? So it was very intuitive and useful, like a Gen 4 is, but it didn't sacrifice some of that knowledge or some of the information on the Bale Track Pro that you've been used to for years. So it's kind of a great marriage, if you will, with the machine. And it enables not only the visualization, how the baler is forming when it's applying net wrap, how to specify how many net wraps you have on there. But probably one thing that I think is most exciting is the serviceability, right? So before, I don't have them memorized, the various channels that you'd have to reference to know what to check if you had an issue, right?
I was going to say, it feels like it's a little more intuitive. Like I'd walk around it more. The Bale Track, our old Bale Track monitor, great monitor, but you also had to have your little cheat card there to get in to know sometimes how to change what you wanted to change.
Exactly.
Have it memorized.
Exactly. So now the calibrations, the diagnostics, they're far more intuitive and actionable on kind of, if you have an issue, what you can chase down and address. So that's pretty exciting as well. So
nice. Yeah, and I guess kind of shifting gears completely on you here. I mean, talking all this technology and just weave automation, and I feel like really cutting edge stuff. Kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, on our 1 Series balers, we brought out a 451E, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like it really puts a lot of value in a 4x5 baler.
Yeah, so recently it was model year 25 that came back in September of 24. We came out with a new feed system on the 451E, right? So the Mega Wide Classic. And that is a really exciting feed system because a lot of the feedback we've heard from customers is they want a wider feed system, right? They've got maybe heavier windrows or wider windrows, or you got either laid out wire to dry down. So now with that Mega Wide Classic, it's a much wider feed system, and also leverages some of the components of the Mega Wide in general feed system with that spiral rotor. So it's a much wider feed system, a higher performing system in that rotor that it has. So that's a really exciting addition to the 4x5E landscape.
And that rotor makes it a lot easier to start bales in tough conditions, doesn't it, Nick? Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think how many years we had that in the premium baler line. It was from that start with the 6 series or the 7?
I think it was the 6 series, and then you added roller baffles and compression racks, right? So the Mega Wide kind of had a little bit of an evolution, but I think the 6 series is when it started, yeah.
Yeah, so God, just seems like for a value price baler, that 451E it's got a lot of features.
Yep, exactly.
Net wrap.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. 5E, we still get the same 5E monitor.
Yep, same G5e monitor. Yep, so same base monitor that is there on all the M's and R's as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. Excited to get one of those in the field this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thank you, Nick.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time.
We're your John Deere dealer coming through for you, Riesterer and Schnell.